Okay, firstly, thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this conference today. And I'm sorry I can't be with you, but we're doing the best we can from Brussels. The whole topic of equity with justice is an extremely important one in the issue of climate change, that we'll well understand at the European level as activists that so many of the problems now being created for countries like Bangladesh have been put in place by countries that, the industrialised world. They're the ones that really ought to be making the major efforts, certainly in terms of mitigation. And it's low-level countries, poorer countries, Bangladesh, the Maldives, Seychelles, etc., that are really paying the penalty. That within the European Parliament, one of the tasks that I have is that I chair the delegation for South Asia. And this includes Bangladesh as one of the 6 countries for which we have relationships. That recently we've been in Bangladesh just 2 or 3 weeks ago. We met people there from the Parliament who are involved in the Climate Change and Environment Committee, people from all political parties working together to have what they want to see as a consistent policy that carries forward regardless as to which party is the party of government. And for them, that is profoundly important. We also met with the Prime Minister and raised again the issues of climate change with her, as also with the Deputy Foreign Minister. So this is something which now we would want to do anyway. I'm a Green. I would want to be doing this, but also all delegations of the European Parliament are now asked when we meet with parliaments, when we meet with government representatives from other countries, to raise the issue of climate change and to try and bring forward action and better understanding. Because what we're facing at the moment is not just an economic crisis, it's also an ecological crisis, and climate change is very much at the heart of that in the way in which we perceive our planet. And as the Deputy Foreign Minister said to us when we were in Bangladesh recently, there's still this discussion in parts of the world as climate change exists, is it just sort of a conspiracy theory? He said, well, here for us in Bangladesh, climate change is real, it's here, it's now. We are seeing the impacts, and women are seeing those impacts even more than men in the poorest communities. It's difficult, however, still to make many of the arguments at the international level for why we should be moving forward on climate change and really taking action. We saw this in the really disappointing outcome of the Copenhagen process, where despite so much effort having gone into it from civil society actors, from governments, from a whole range of organisations, we actually saw that conference sidetracked by many of the world's biggest emitters who weren't willing to sign up under the UN process. We saw a little bit more progress at Durban. We're told by Bangladeshi government and others that the European Union's perspective at that conference was important, and that working with the most vulnerable countries, the European Union is making progress. But that was a fight at the Brussels end as well, and I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. And people are now turning their attention to the discussions later on this year in the Rio+20 conferences. What's going to be the outcome? Those being the conferences that 20 years ago set the whole climate change process in movement at an international level. That at the European level, we're also finding it a struggle. We're hearing again these voices that say we're not rich enough, we've got an economic crisis, we can't move forward on climate change. But we know